In this video, we're going to be building out this tags input component that's powered by the Npm Search REST API. So the genesis behind this idea was if you've ever used GitHub before, hopefully you have, and you have a repo, you want to add some topics to it, like you see over here, you can head over to the settings dialog, and then in this topics box, this is called a tags input component. So typically these components, you just type in freeform and you just like enter whatever it is that you enter. But in this case, this specific tags input is powered by, well, I don't know, one of GitHub's REST APIs. I don't know what it is. But if I come in here and I want to add, say, I don't know, TypeScript, it'll give me a list of suggestions that I can add as autofill. So there we go. So I kind of wanted to recreate this for my own projects, and I figured I'd make it into a tutorial. So that's kind of what you're seeing over here. So it kind of works in a similar fashion where you can come in here and you can say, I don't know, I'll say at types. Takes a second because I have a long a long debounce period. There we go. So type at types node. And then we can say at types, I don't know, ESLint maybe. I don't even know if that's a thing. Lodash-es works, okay. So yeah, so this is kind of like the, this is kind of the nutshell what we're gonna do. Quick and dirty, super simple, built with ShadCN and Tailwind, dark mode, light mode, compatible. Yeah, so let's go ahead and get into it. Oh, and I should say, the starter code is in this repo. Go ahead and clone it. Because I debated whether or not I wanted to walk through the entire ShadCN setup process, but there's documentation on that, and I have prior videos where I've done that exact thing. So if you're interested in seeing that, go see my last reading list video. I actually go through the process of setting up ShadCN. But in this case, I figured it'd be easier for me to just give you the starter code so you can hit the ground running. So yeah, let's go ahead and jump into it. So once you've got the repo cloned and open in VS Code, go ahead and hit Control tilde. We'll install the packages, hitting yarn, and then to start the server, we'll run yarn dev, not yarn dir, yarn dev. So my server's running at localhost 5173. There we go. We got the app started, and we're gonna head into the source app.tsx file. And I'm gonna try to do everything in this file so that I'm not jumping around as much. But feel free to split up the directory how you see fit. So I'm just going to hide the sidebar, hitting Control B, and I am going to keep the terminal open for a second because we're going to need a component from ShadCN. So the first thing we're going to want to do is create the Npm Search Component. So the Npm Search Component, which is essentially the whole thing, but that's going to contain like the input, the tags display, and the search functionality and all that. And like I said, you can split it up however you see fit. This is just like, because I'm using everything in one component, I figured that's how I would set it up myself. So we need to add the input component from ShadCN. I can actually just do this with a normal HTML input, but why waste your time? So come over here, go ahead and copy the installation command, open up a split terminal, run that bad boy, press enter. Takes a second. And we need to install some packages. Yes. Dun dun dun. Today, please. There we go. So next thing we want to do, I also want to add the button component. So I just hit, let me open this up a little bit because it's kind of hard to see. There we go. So I'm going to add the button component, and I think the only other one that I'm adding is the card. So this will just take a second. All right. And the last one is, oh, hello. The last one is the card component. So just gonna give that a second. All right, there we go. So now I can kill this terminal. I don't think I'll need it anymore. And I'm gonna hide it using Control tilde again. So let's go ahead and start building this darn thing. Go ahead and create a new component called Npm Search. And this is going to be mainly where all of our logic goes. So in Npm Search, go ahead and return just the JSX template. So we'll say return open parentheses, and this is just going to contain a div with a input that we get from ShadCN. So there you go. Let's go ahead and close this input. And inside of here, let's just pass in a few things like, I don't know, type equals text. And we'll say autocomplete off because we are going to need the autocomplete to be off. I don't want to have like random other stuff showing up because we want all of the tags to be based only on the results from the npm search. And then we'll place a placeholder in here. We'll call it, I don't know, search for a package. Okay. And then instead of new me who dis, Happy New Year's, we'll just return npm search and close it. There we go. So now we have our nifty little ShadCN input component. And let's start adding some functionality to this. So what we want to do right now is just kind of like see the fetch request in action. So in order to do that, I'm going to have it so that the input component updates a query state variable, and we're just going to log that state variable whenever we get results. So let's say const query set query equals use state. Go ahead and import that, and we'll initialize the query state variable as an empty string. And then underneath here, we will declare a new function called fetchNpmPackages, which will take in a search query. Search query, which will be of type string. And inside of its function body, or its function block, we'll say if search query, because if there's no search query, then we don't want to search. Then we'll just do a basic fetch request. So fetch, and what we're going to fetch to, I'm going to open up backticks because we need to pass in the variable here. I could also just do it with like, normal string concatenation, but that's ugly. So this is going to be from https://registry.npmjs.org, and I'll link the documentation for this REST API in the description. So it's going to be /v1/search ? I can't tell. Yeah, there we go. Text equals, and then we're going to pass in the search query here. So we'll say $, open curly brace, close curly brace, and search query. My L's and R's are not coming out right today. So now, when we fetch this, then we are going to convert our response to JSON. So response, get rid of this because we just want it to be a inline function. So response.json. Okay. And after it's been converted to JSON, then we're going to take that JSON data and we're just going to console log it. So we'll say console.log data. And it's going to look ridiculous. So we need to actually use these things. So let's, in our input, let's add a value of query. So we'll make it so that the actual content of the input box is the query. So if I actually try typing anything in here, it's not going to work because the value is based on the query. So what we need to do is we actually need to add a change handler here. So we'll say on change. And what this is going to do is it's going to capture whatever it is that we're typing here, and we're going to pass it to a use effect. So we'll say use effect. Now I know use effect is not the best way to do this, but like, we're just, this is just for, wait, what? Oh, wrong one. I meant to use the snippet. There we go. No, not layout effect. Use effect, snippet. There we go. I'm not accurate today. So in this use effect, all we're going to do is, bro, come on now. We're just going to say fetch npm packages query whenever the query changes. Okay? So what that means is whenever we actually change the query, then we're going to run fetch npm packages. So that means that in here, in our onChange, we need to pass in the text, change event, and to set our query to the event.target.value. So what that means is when we actually type things here, instead of the state, instead of the text being stored in the input box immediately, what it's going to do is it's going to store the text in the state variable. And whenever the state variable has updated, then we're going to do the fetch request. So if I come in here, I am going to Control-Shift-I. Whoa, that's gross. Let me change that up. There we go. Cool. Excuse me. So in here, if I start typing in like say React, you'll see like every letter that I typed, it did a fetch request, right? But like this is what the fetch request looks like. So we're currently console logging all the data. What we want to do is we want to actually console log data.objects, as you can see over here, because this actually contains the search results. But we're not actually going to just console log the objects. We're actually going to console log the objects, specifically the packages within the objects, because the object contains like other information like the score and the flags. And I don't care about this stuff. I only care about the actual package. So what we're going to do is rather than just console logging the objects, we're going to console log the objects after we map over them. So we'll say map object type any, and we're just going to return the object.package. Save that. So now if I come in here and I type, yeah, there we go. So you'll see I get the actual results here. So yeah, so just actual like objects of packages right now. So yeah, so that's like a quick and dirty version of how to get this like working. And you could probably tell that it is very inefficient because we're essentially running a fetch request on every keystroke. And I don't think NPM would be very pleased with that amount of traffic. They would probably throttle us and do some kind of like rate limiting. And we don't want that. So we also want to be respectful of NPM's servers because, you know, it costs money to run servers, and we want to have a more reasonable duration that we wait before we send a request. But we also want that duration to not hinder our user experience. So I already provided you with a hook called useDebounce in the hooks folder. And I'm going to quickly explain what's going on in this hook. So the first thought that I guess one would have when you want to like delay an operation by a certain amount is you would wrap it in a set timeout method. So for example, if I were to come in here and type set timeout and give it a timeout period of, let's go crazy, we'll say 2 seconds, and pass in that function here. Now when I come in and I search for package, let's say I want to search for React, right? You would think that, okay, it's going to only search for whatever I type after 2 seconds. So we type React, 1, 2, and there you go. But you'll see it didn't search for the query that existed after 2 seconds. Rather, it just delayed all 5 search operations because there's a search on every keystroke. It just delayed those search operations for 2 seconds, and then it still went and searched for all of them anyways. On the other hand, with the debounce method, the function only gets called once after the wait period. But we don't want to use the debounce method by itself like this, because every time the component re-renders for any reason, so like whenever we're typing in here, if props come in and things update the component, so anytime the state changes or the props change, a new debounced function actually gets created. And every time a new debounced function gets created, the internal timer of the debounce method resets. So you could imagine if you're sitting here typing a bunch of stuff, then you're just constantly recreating or creating more debounced methods and resetting the timer over and over and over again, which is also not ideal. So what we do is we wrap it in a useMemo hook, and what the useMemo hook will do is it'll allow us to only recreate the debounced function, aka the function that gets passed in and is debounced, whenever one of these props change, or excuse me, one of these parameters change. So if we actually change the milliseconds the wait milliseconds or the max wait milliseconds, then it will recreate the debounce method. So it's just a way to improve performance and make it run a little bit more stable. So let me show you what that actually looks like. Let's see. So I'm actually missing something. Let me just add this real quick. So we forgot to add a catch to catch any errors. So we'll just add a error function. We'll say when there's an error, we will console.error fetching data from npm registry API, and then the actual error. Cool. So now let's actually use the debounce, the useDebounce hook. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna import it right here. So useDebounce. There we go. And then from the end of the useDebounce method, all the way down to here, I think. Yeah, we're gonna wrap this in another parentheses because we're passing this in as a function. As the function parameter to the useDebounce method. And the next parameter we need to pass in is the actual duration. So we said 500. So I'm gonna save that. And now let me show you what happens when we run this. Just refresh real quick. So when I type in React, you'll see that after half a millisecond, there we go. Now we have 2. I think there was a little bit of a, because I had a pause between the A and the C, I think. Let's try that again. So React, there we go. Only did 1 call. So that's more or less how it works. Now there is one other thing that we have to add, which is, we need to clean up, which is the fact that we're still setting this as a timeout. Is probably why it took so long. So let's just get rid of that, save that again, try that. I'm a silly goose today. Try that. What just happened? That was weird. We'll try that again. So now type React. Oh, React. There we go. There is one thing that we have to do. We do need to cancel this at the cleanup stage, and this just makes sure that we don't have any if the component unmounts for any reason, then we just want to whatever debounce methods were happening. Let's say I navigate away and this component is no longer on the page. Well, I don't want that that debounce function to still run. Because let's say I debounced for 5 minutes or something, something crazy, right? And I navigated away, and then 5 minutes later, I start getting a bunch of data in. Well, I don't really want that to happen, right? It's undesirable. So what we're gonna do to clean this up is we're gonna return a anonymous function, and in that block, we're gonna say fetch, not retch, fetch npm packages dot cancel. And even though fetch npm packages is the function that we declared, because it's technically a debounced function now, because we defined it as a debounced function using the useDebounce hook, then we also get access to the debounce function's cancel method, which will just cancel whatever was in flight. So yeah, that's now we have a nice little efficient search engine for for npm packages. Now let's make this thing a little bit more presentable. Instead of console logging the search results, I want to actually render them in the UI as buttons that we can click on, so that we can add them as tags in a second. So first thing we want to do is create a new state object called packages. So I'm actually just gonna double click this. Actually, you don't even have to double click. You can just do anywhere in the line, Alt-Shift down. That'll clone this line down. And instead of query, we'll call it packages and set packages. There we go. And we'll initialize this as an empty array, right? I do want to also define the type for this just to be a little bit cleaner. So let me go ahead. I'm just going to paste this type in here, and you can pause and copy it over. But it's essentially just the type definition for the npm package object shape. So yeah, and this is also what we want to be using. So all the optionals and stuff. That's yeah. So once you get that copied over, just come down here to the use state and open up a caret, npm package, then add a array. Sorry, I'm trying, my keyboard is like not within eyesight, so I'm like trying to look down and not make typos. Okay, so so now our packages is defined using the new npm package type. So down here where we were previously console logging, we're just going to replace this, bro, thank you. We're just going to replace this text over here with set packages because, yeah, when you have code that works, why change it, right? So now you can come down here. I'm just going to save that. And we want to actually display this. So underneath the input, we'll open up a curly brace and we will map through the packages array. So nice thing about the map function is it's kind of like a for each where because packages is initialized as an empty array, if there's nothing in here, well, it just won't show anything. So we'll say package.map, open up an arrow function, and we'll say that for every package, we're going to return a button. So we'll say button, and inside of that button, we'll open up a span tag, we'll open up a curly brace, and we'll say package.name, close the curly brace, and then let me just add some stuff. Oh, so this button needs to be imported. Whoops. So yeah, there it is. So .component/UI/button. And this we installed there earlier using the ShadCN CLI. So for this, let's just add a key so that React knows what this is. There we go. Next thing, let's just give it a type of button. And you don't need to do that, just have it. For these buttons, we'll give them a variant of ghost, which is another thing from ShadCN, just predefined CSS. And then we'll also add some class names to this, and I'll show you why. So if I actually come in here and React, well, this kind of looks terrible. Actually, I don't hate it, but I also don't like it. So I'm going to fix that up by styling it up a little bit. So we'll say that each button will have a flex with the full item center justify between, and this is just like, it's not going to be the case for us, but because like whatever it is that we're passing in here is like, we're just kind of yeeting whatever NPM gives us back. This just kind of like centers everything. And we'll say text left. So that way, you know, we undo the centering that we just did. And there we go. So now you have a whole hell of a lot of buttons that show up as the search results. There is one other thing that I want to do real quick, which is I don't want to define the object as any, since we do know what the shape of the search result is from the API docs. I went ahead and created a type for it. So you can go ahead and pause over here and just copy this over. So just note that the package is of type npm package. And then once you got that, just come over here to this object and change it from type any to type search result. Save, and there you go. Now, this doesn't really do anything because, well, these are all buttons, but, well, we don't really tell them what to do when they get clicked on. So they just kind of sit there. So let's actually have a state object where we can store the things that we click on. And then we'll have to define a click handler to actually manage the storage of these, or the storing action. I don't know what I'm saying. English is hard. So let's just go ahead and create a new state object. So we'll say const. And I guess we can just call it tags. So we'll say tags and then set tags equal to use state. And these tags are going to be of type npm package as well, because we're just going to be adding these. We're just going to be adding them wholesale, so all the data comes in. You can just save like the name if you want, but for my use case, I find it beneficial to have all the data. That way, if I like need to link it, or if I need to do more things with the data, like maybe add a hover over effect and do some more fancy stuff, then you can go wild with it. So now let's create a click handler for these buttons. So when we click on these buttons, let's just say const handle select package. I'm really bad at naming things. And in here, this is going to take in the npm package, right? And then inside the function block, what we're going to do is we're going to set tags to, I don't know, tag, and then we're going to expand out the existing tags. Well, it's actually a plural. Oh gosh, why am I doing it this way? It's fine. Because we're defining tags here, whatever we, not tasks, whatever we, whatever tags we're using here, this isn't the state variable. You know what, I'll just do prev tags just so that it doesn't get confusing. Prev tags. So yeah, basically whatever tags are in the state, it's going to take them and then it's going to add a new tag to them. So we're just going to say package, and this new package is going to be set as a new tag. So next thing is once we add a package, we want to clear out the query. So we'll say set query is, dude, I cannot type, is just an empty quote. Yeah, so now let's actually do the thing where we make this usable. So in our buttons, we'll add a click handler, and we'll say on click, ANFN, and I really need to memorize the snippet for the anonymous function that doesn't have the brackets. I'll probably figure out in a second. So here we'll say handle, select, package, and this is going to take in the package that is passed in from the map. So package, there we go. So now if I do React, well, I clicked it, cleared it out, but it didn't really do anything else. That's because we don't have anything displaying the tags. So up here at the top, over this input, we will, let's say tags.length is greater than 0. So if tags.length is greater than 0, then we will pass in a div. I'll do div dot, that way we open up the class name thing. And then in here, we'll give it a margin bottom of 3. We'll make it a flex box, flex wrap, rounded large. And then background, because we're using ShadCN, we have things like muted. These are custom variables. So this won't work if you're just doing Tailwind, unless you have like defined muted and muted foreground and so forth and so on. So give it a padding x of 2, padding bottom of 11. I know it's crazy. It's almost like I've done this before. And then we, inside of this div, we'll pass in the actual dependency. So this is just like the outer like container. So if I save that, there you go. That's like the container that's going to hold in the tags. And then inside of here, we have to run tags.map. And for each, I don't know. I'm saying package just because like they are of type npm packages. But like if it makes more sense for you to say tag instead, then go for it. But for me, this is what made sense because the package is of type npm package. So why is it screaming at me? Oh, it's because I put a, there we go. So in here, we'll just pass in a span with the key of package.name. Hello, package.name. That was weird. And then close that. And then we'll also display the dude, stop, package.name. There we go. Why is this yelling at me? Hold up. Tags.map. Oh, whoops. I should probably put all of this inside of another parentheses. There we go. So save that. And there you go. Prop types. But that looks like trash, like actual garbage. So what I'll do is I'm going to add these classes to it. And those classes are going to be, let's say, class name. Give it a margin 1, flex, cursor, pointer. This is for later, in case you want to like turn it into a link that opens to the npm package directly. Say flex wrap, and item center. This is because we're going to have a button in there as well, so just keep that in mind. Justify between rounded, medium, background of ring. So this is another color from ShadCN. P2, so padding of 2, text, small, font, medium, text, destructive, foreground. And that's just going to make sure that the text is white, whether it's light mode or dark mode. So we save that, and there we go. So let's look at what it looks like. Wonderful. Let's add some more things. And look at that. Look at all those things. Now this is fine and dandy, but we do have an issue. You'll see that over here, we actually added prop types twice, and we need to do two things to make this a little bit cleaner. First one is to avoid doing that next time. Down in the button, let's add a disabled property. So all we want to do here is just disable the button if the package already exists in the tags. And since I save the tags as a array of npm packages, then it'll be a one-to-one match. If you save your tags as strings, then it's a little bit more code. So there you go. Should have done what I did. And if you did do what I did, I'm sorry, you'll find more bugs in the future. So we're going to say disabled is, this is just going to be like a true or false. So we'll say if tags dot includes the package. So we do that and we save, and you'll see that prop types become disabled. React day picker becomes disabled, styled components, React Redux, etc., etc. So that takes care of not being able to add more than we need. And I know we can handle this with IDs, but I don't really want to right now. So what we want to do is we want to have a, in case we add a package that we don't want, we want to have a way to remove it. So let's declare a new click handler, which will go, we're going to add a button inside of these tags. So we'll say const handle remove tag. Yeah, that's fine. And say this is equal to ANFN name. So this is just going to take in a name of the tag. And inside of the function body, we'll say set tags. And this is all we're going to do is we're going to say like whatever you remove, because these should be unique, really. I mean, technically, I guess the ID of each package is the name, since these should be unique since they're in the registry this way. So what we'll do is we'll say tags.filter, and we'll return a new tags array. And I am going to say package because if you defined it like I did, then tags are of type npm package. So for each package, if the package.name does not equal the name that gets passed in. So what this means is return a new array that contains all of the things of this array, so long as they do not have the same name as the thing that we want to remove. So what that means is if I click on the X button that I'm going to add here, this will pass in the prop type's name to the handle remove tag. It will then create a new array containing all the things except for those with this name. So it's actually going to remove this one and this one. So let's go ahead and find a button to put this in. So let's see. If I go to, where am I going? I'm going over here. So inside of the span, let's go ahead and add a button. And this doesn't have to be a ShadCN button. This is just a regular button. And say on click. This is going to take in an anonymous function with no parameters. Whoop, too many things. There we go. And we'll say handle remove tag, and we'll pass in the package.name. Cool. Oh, I need a hello. I did not mean to click scroll. We're all over the place today. And here I'll just say, well, I'm going to actually use an icon. So because we have those. So we're going to import hi mini x circle from hero icons. So hi is not hi, it's hero icons. Come back down to wherever the heck we just were. Where was it? There it is. So inside of this button, we will open up this tag, pass in that icon, close it, save it, and there we have a little X button. So if I click this, What the heck just happened? Hold up. Hold up. Let me see. What did I just do? Wait, let me see what happens. If I pass in React and I pass in RxJS, oh, it deletes all of them. Interesting. What did I do? Let's see. Debugging time. So here we said set tags to tags.filter package, where package name does not equal name. Okay. That should be correct. Let me see. If I scroll down over here, button on click, handle, remove tag, package.name. Interesting. Okay, so turns out I really need to figure out how to get that snippet to not always show curly braces, because the issue was that instead of making it an inline function, I made it a closed function. So there we go. So nothing was getting returned. So now I can do what we were talking about, which is I can come in here and there you go. It'll remove the thing that is being clicked on, not the entire thing. So yeah, that's cool. So let me just go ahead and add some more styling to this button because it kind of doesn't look too good. So we'll say class name equals margin left 1, size 6, and hover. Yeah, text red. I don't know, 400. Save that. So now when we hover over that, it turns red. Click on it, deletes it, and let me actually fix up the padding inside the button because I don't really like the way that looks. We'll say padding Y of 2, padding Y of 2, and for the left padding I'll give it 4, and then for the right padding I'll give it 2. Yeah, there we go. Okay, that looks cleaner. Tell you what I'm also going to do is I'm going to create a new component outside of here. It's just going to be like a dummy component. We're going to just call it const tag equals, and this one is just going to take in children. So this is just going to be like a wrapper component for the tags because I don't know, it's kind of cluttering everything down there, and I'd prefer to be able to read the code. So children is of type React node. Huh. Bro, why am I struggling right now? Let me see. Okay, cool. TypeScript be like throwing errors before like it's even reasonable to. So in here, we are going to pass in that span. And inside of that span, we're going to pass in whatever children we use this. Oh, gosh, this component has a wrapper for. Sorry, I'm getting over a cough and I realize it probably sounds like a hurricane in that microphone. So let me just grab these classes. I'm just going to grab this whole class name thing, X that, come back over here to tags and just paste that here. And then because we did that, now we can just use the tag in the space of the span. So now we can just say tag, and there we go. And now, like, the reason like this is also beneficial is because like, let's say you want to use tags and other components as well. So now you have like an easier way to access them. So yeah, there we go. So I don't want to have the search results always showing up like this. I'd rather have them as a like drop down or like a pop up or whatever. So what we're gonna do, we need to create a state to indicate that there's that there are results that need to be shown. So let's go up to where we're defining our states, and over here we'll say const show results, set show results, and we'll set this state to false. Cool. Or we'll initialize it to false. And what we're going to do now is we're basically going to have, let me think for a second. So we want to have two use effects here. And the first use effect is going to take care of showing the result, and the other one is going to take care of turning it off. And there's a reason I'm doing it in 2 different steps. And I forget what that reason is right now, but let's go through this. So the first use effect, what we're going to do is we're going to set show results as true if the search results, so if the packages.length is greater than 0. And we don't need a cleanup function for this, and we'll just say dependencies or packages. The next one is going to be the one that takes care of hiding it. So in this one, we're going to say if there is no query, and I'll just make this an inline if statement because there's no other condition, then we will set show results to false. And what that means is when we are typing something in, and if there are packages to show, then the pop-up will show up. If there's nothing in there, so if there's no query at all, then it'll just go away. So let's try that. So we type React, boom, shows up. Get rid of React. There we go. Okay, that was weird. Yeah, so if no query, set show results false. Okay, so, I guess packages were still rendering. So because of that, we need to actually have a ternary operator where the packages are rendering. So what we'll do is we'll say that if show results, so this will just make sure that like literally nothing shows up, right? Then, bro, come on now. There we go. Then that, well, tell you what, we'll do a div. Then that, and then otherwise, we'll just do an empty div, just for demonstration purposes. So React, get rid of React. There we go. So now let's also clean that up because I don't like the way that pop-up looks. So what we're going to do, inside of this div, we'll add some classes. So class name. So I want the pop-up to be like one of those pop-ups that like wherever you scroll, it'll kind of like stick right underneath it. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to make this div have a be absolute and absolutely positioned. I'm going to give it a z-index of 10, so just high enough so that it sticks above everything else, but not high enough that it covers the nav bar, which I think is like z50. And then we'll give it a width of full. And inside of this div, dude, whoa, that was weird. Okay, let's try that again. So inside of that div, we will import that card that we installed earlier, like so. And inside of that card, we will pass in these packages. So now when we come in here and we type React, there you go. Nice little card. Looks like trash because we need to add some classes. So we'll say class name, and we'll give it a margin top of 1 so that it kind of sticks underneath. There we go. We'll give it a max height of 60, just some arbitrary number. There we go. We'll make it so that it doesn't overflow the way it's overflowing. So we'll do width full, and we'll say overflow y auto. There we go. So now it's stuck at that 60, and we'll give it a overflow of x of hidden. Save that. Interesting. Oh, you know what? It's because I forgot to wrap this. So let's add some divs up here. So why am I doing it like that? Say div dot. There we go. So we'll give this a margin top of 1, flex width full, flex call, items center, text small, and then yeah, I'm gonna move that div in a second. Next one is relative with the width full, and the last one is a div with a width of full, and when it's small, a margin bottom of 2. Cool. So for these two closing tags, actually, tell you what, I'm going to move this closing tag over underneath this input, and then these two, we're going to move them all the way at the bottom, like so. Save that. There we go. Nice. So now it's nice and contained. So I think there's just one more thing for this. Yeah, those scroll bars look disgusting. So I actually got this copy pasta from the preline component library. So you can check them out. Just preline.co, I think. So for that, what we're going to do is, I forgot where these go, to be honest, right here. So in this card, I'm just going to paste, oh, gosh, geez, that looks terrible. Yeah, so, dude, why am I clicking? What am I doing? Okay, cool, there we go. So go ahead and copy those in, but if you save that, that's going to give us a nice little, like, I don't know, really aesthetic, rounded looking scroll bar. Yeah, I'll probably leave a link to where you can find this copy pasta in the description. So we do want this to behave a little bit more like a dropdown. And what I mean by that is right now, if I type in something and then I click away from this, it doesn't close it. I have to actually select something for the dropdown to close. Additionally, there's like other things like from accessibility perspective, like, you know, I'm tabbing through this. If I hit escape, like that's my normal intuition is I assume that if I'm using a keyboard and I'm not clicking away, I should be able to hide this pop-up by hitting escape, which is not the case. So let's go ahead and add that functionality in there. So first thing we want to do, we need to create a ref for this whole component because we want to make it so that if you click outside of the component, then the React component should be able to capture that click and know whether or not you clicked in it or out. And based on that information, it will determine whether or not it should close it in response to that click. So let's go ahead and add this in here. So underneath the show results state, geez, what am I saying? The state variable, we'll go ahead and declare const search ref equals use ref. Go ahead and import this from the React package. And this ref is going to be of type HTML div element, and it's going to be initialized as null because this doesn't exist when the component first mounts. It only exists after it renders. So then down in our return statement, this outer part of the component, this div, we're going to add the ref, search ref. So now we know where to assign this reference. So now that that's assigned, what we can do is underneath the search ref, where to go? There we go. We're going to define a new function, and we're going to call it const handle click outside. Okay, and this is going to run on mouse events. Oh, not with an S. There we go. So anytime a mouse events runs, well, not anytime. Well, actually, yeah, I guess anytime. So what we're going to do is a very, very simple if search ref dot current. So if the search ref exists, and if the search ref dot current dot contains, so the current would be like an array of like all the elements, and then contains event dot target as node. So if the search ref does not contain, that's what the exclamation point in front means. This means if not true. So without it, this would say if it contains it. But we want to say if wherever we clicked does not contain what is supposed to be inside of the search ref, meaning outside of the search ref, then we're going to set the query to an empty string, and we're going to set show results to false. Cool. Now this is not going to work for the obvious reason that we're not actually using it anywhere. So let's go ahead and fix that. Underneath this, let's just add a use effect. And in this use effect, we'll say we need to access the window object. So we'll say window. Now, I am not a fan of adding event listeners to when you're using React components, strictly because most of the time you have access to event listeners when they're within components. That's not the case with the window though, because the React is scoped inside of the DOM. So in order to actually add event listeners, you have to access the window object directly. And also, this won't work with server components. You would have to, well, I don't know if this will work with server components or not. I'll have to double check that. But yeah, we'll put a pin in that for now. So we're going to add an event listener called not key down. Well, let's add key down for now. I'm going to comment this one out because we're going to get back to this in a second. Because we're going to add one for the escape key. So what we're going to do instead is we're going to say window.add event listener mouse down. Actually, tell you what, we'll do document instead of window. That way we're only focusing on the DOM and not everything else in the window. And we'll say handle click outside. Okay. So what this is going to do is we're adding an event listener to mouse down. So whenever the mouse is clicked, this event is listening for it. And it will run handle click outside whenever we click. So let's go ahead and see what that looks like. I'm just going to comment out the return statement and get rid of this random third thing. There we go. And in here, we'll say React, click outside, and it closes it out. However, excuse me. However, we don't want this event listener to stay there forever because this is accessing the document directly. If we navigate away from this page, this event listener stays there, which we don't want. We want this function to be removed when the component unmounts, so when the component's no longer available. So to do that, we'll just copy this, paste it there, and we'll say instead of document add event listener, we'll say document remove event listener. And we save that, and there we go. So now, same thing as before, click away, and it closes. However, there's an issue because if I am using the accessibility version of this, well, let's pretend like I don't have a mouse, right? Mouse does not exist. I have no way to close this. So let's go ahead and add the keyboard version of this, which would be the escape button. So I'm just going to put this on top of handle click outside. So we'll say const handle escape equals event, which will be a keyboard event. There we go. And we'll set this function so that if the event.key, because keyboard event means all keys, so if the event.key is equal to escape, that's literally how it is, so the escape key is saved as the string escape, then we're going to do the same thing that we did up here, which is set query to the string and set show results to false. Now we come down here to, where was it? There we go. So where we had this window add event listener key down, add a comma, and we'll paste handle escape in there. And I'm just going to copy this, paste that there, and then, copy the handle remove listener, remove event listener, add it to this one, save, and now, if I hit escape, there we go. If I type React, click on that, it closes it, type in a whole lot of nonsense, nothing happens, of course it doesn't. Angular, I'm tabbing in here, I hit escape, and it closes it. So we're basically done. I guess now it's just time to clean up the way this looks right now. So, but down at the where I defined the app component, I am going to add a card as a wrapper from ShadCN. So, let me try. Oh, I already have it imported. That's why. So we add the card. I'm going to move the npm search in the middle in a second. And then inside the card, we're going to add a card header. Okay. So I am importing it when I hit enter, by the way. Then we're going to add a card title. Yep. And the card title, we're just going to say tags input component with npm search funsies. Save that. Underneath the title, we're going to say card description. And we're going to say add npm packages as tags to your project or as you see fit. Smiley face. Oh wait, smiley face is probably not gonna like that. There we go. Cool. So then underneath the header, let's add the card content. And then finally, we can just cut that and paste inside card content. And there we go. Now we can go ahead and have our little tags input. And yeah, looks phenomenal if I do say so myself. And yeah, so that's a little tag component that you can use for your component libraries. It's built with ShadCN and Tailwind, light mode, dark mode compatible. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. And if you want to leave a like, share it, subscribe, do what you got to do. But most importantly, I hope you learned something today.